The old adage, we are creatures of habit, is absolutely true. Sometimes it's a good thing, and sometimes habits, like rules, were made to be broken. Dr. Elizabeth Rodgers is a Harvard-trained epidemiologist and health and longevity doctor. Welcome back. Habits, things that we like to stick to for better or for worse.
Yes.
But there are some that we really should learn to let go of.
There really are. And I think habits is such a fascinating thing because if you think about it, I think we can all relate to what it feels like to have an unhealthy habit that we know isn't good for us, but we just can't seem to break it.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's because habits are brain-based, and so many people don't understand that. So if you look in the research, a lot of research around behavior change and healthy behavior change will show you that people can make changes.
Yeah.
People can get into programs on diets, on exercise or fitness cycles. People can get into all kinds of routines and make healthy changes. However, what most of the research concludes is that maintenance is a problem. So we can make changes temporarily, but then when it comes to really keeping that behavior for the rest of our lives, people tend to revert back.
Right, and bad habits are easy to slip into and feel comfortable for a really long time.
Absolutely.
But to change out of those habits and to start new habits, what do they say that if you give it 30 days, 40
30 days. I've heard 21 days
21
too.
days.
I've heard 40 days too.
Yeah, so I guess it ranges for different people depending on how stuck to the old ways they are. But if you do stick to something, how would you recommend for people to keep track of their progress, to stay on the path?
That's actually a really fantastic question that I hadn't even thought of. There are some really, really great ways that you can help yourself stay on track. And I think for a lot of people, myself included, that's one of the great ways to just hold yourself accountable. There are actually some fantastic free apps out there. So if you use your phone and you don't want to just make an old-fashioned little checklist, maybe you're like me though, because I really like old school planners. So I still like to write my to-do list and cross them off with a pen.
Feels like you're accomplishing more though, right?
You get it.
Because you can scratch it off when it's done.
Thank you for getting it. That's how I feel. But a lot of people now, do everything on their mobile devices. So there are some great apps. One I would recommend is called Streaks. It's free. You can literally set it up to send you reminders to do your habits. You can put as many habits in there as you like, and then you go in every day and you track them. And the Streaks app is called such because it will track how long you're on a good streak, right? So then it's encouraging you because you're thinking like, all right, I've done it for 7 days, I'm gonna keep going.
That's clever.
That's, I think, a really great way, honestly, to hold yourself accountable.
And when you say that you create habits and then those habits create you, it's so true.
It is so true.
Right, so whether that habit is eating junk food regularly, well, those habits will create you because it's doing something bad to your body.
Exactly, and honestly, I think it's helpful for people to understand that the reason we tend to do that and we can't break habits, it's not because there's something wrong with us. I think a lot of people get into beating themselves up, about hanging on to those unhealthy habits they can't seem to break, whether it's the late night snacking or just whatever. There's countless things.
That's right.
But I think it's helpful for people to hear and understand that your brain, you have literally trained your brain to recognize something that you must do to survive. So there are a lot of different parts of the brain, but in this conversation I'm talking about 3 parts. You have a mammalian part of your brain, which is your emotional part of your brain, your prefrontal cortex, which is the part of you that says, yes, I know that smoking is a bad habit and I don't want to do it. However, the problem is with your reptilian part of your brain, which is the oldest part of your brain, and it is the habit-forming part of your brain.
Interesting.
So it doesn't know good or bad. It just knows, I must do this for survival. So let's say you get up every day and you smoke a cigarette. Your brain does not think that's bad for you. It thinks that if you don't smoke that cigarette every day when you get up now, you're going to die.
Oh, goodness.
So it goes into this mode of triggering you to want to engage in habits. So I think it's helpful for people to recognize, the way I like to think of it is, it's like our habit voice. And that habit voice really isn't us. but it wants us to listen, to engage, and to
Yes.
get into the bad
But
stuff.
involuntary need. That- yeah.
Exactly.
I must have a coffee shop at the back of my head because every single morning I get up and I have my coffee. Not as bad of a habit as smoking. All right, you have a wonderful podcast as well. I want to direct our viewers to that.
Yeah.
How do they find it?
It's called The Bridge, a transformational health podcast with Dr. Elizabeth Rodgers, and you can find it anywhere that you listen and tune into podcasts.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Dr.
you so
Rodgers.
much.
Always a pleasure. Always learning so much. We'll be back in 2 minutes.